Hello and welcome and namaste from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. Coming up over the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi lands in the Brazilian city of Rio de Janeiro, gets a vibrant welcome from Brazil's Indian community. The PM to take part in the two-day 17th BRICS Summit in the city starting today. Israel sends a team to Qatar for Gaza hostage and ceasefire negotiations, but rejects Hamas's demands to change ceasefire proposal. Netanyahu to meet US President Donald Trump in Washington on Monday. Billionaire techie Elon Musk launches a new political party in the US, calls it America Party. Takes aim at both Republicans and Democrats, says America needs fresh leadership. Floods in Texas leave at least 50 dead. 27 girls from a camp are missing as rescuers search the devastated landscape. First up, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on a 4-day visit to Brazil, where he'll attend the 17th BRICS Summit and undertake a state visit as well. On the fourth leg of his 5-nation visit, Prime Minister Modi landed in Rio de Janeiro earlier today. This is Prime Minister Modi's 4th visit to Brazil and is taking place at the invitation of Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. In a social media post, Prime Minister Modi wrote, and I quote, "Landed in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, where I will participate in the BRICS Summit and then head to its capital, Brasilia, for a state visit at the invitation of President Lula. Looking forward to a productive round of meetings and interactions during this visit." End quote. Upon his arrival at the hotel in Rio, members of the Brazilian Indian community gave a very vibrant welcome to Prime Minister Modi. A group performed on Om Gan Ganpate, which is a mantra in the honor of the Prime Minister. And Prime Minister Modi lauded the Indian community in Brazil for their warm welcome extended to him. He said that it's amazing how they remain connected with Indian culture and are also very passionate about India's development. And the PM also witnessed a powerful performance based on the theme of Operation Sindoor, a tribute to India's brave response against terrorism. The Prime Minister appreciated the heartfelt performance. Well, the world's eyes are on Rio de Janeiro as the 17th BRICS Summit is all set to begin later today, with the grouping expanding to 10 full members and crucial discussions on global governance, climate and development on the agenda. The stage is set for high-stakes diplomacy. DD India's Meghna Dev brings us this report from Rio.
The 17th BRICS Summit officially kicks off in Rio on July 6th. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Rio de Janeiro to attend the summit, marking India's strong commitment to the BRICS agenda. The summit is especially significant as India takes over the BRICS chair next year. This year, BRICS has expanded to 10 full member countries with 12 partner nations, 8 invited countries, and 7 leaders of regional and multilateral organizations. The theme for this year's summit is strengthening Global South cooperation for inclusive and sustainable governance. Day 1 features high-stakes sessions beginning with a discussion on global governance reforms limited to full members only.
The program on the 6th includes the first agenda item, the reform of the global governance. And thereafter, there is the second item on the agenda, the peace and security, which is in the working lunch format.
On the 7th of July, the item of the agenda is environment, COP30 and global health. 4 major deliverables are expected to emerge from this summit. The first being the leaders' declaration, second, statement on global governance and artificial intelligence, framework on climate finance, and BRICS partnership to eliminate socially determined diseases. Brazil's BRICS priorities aligns very closely to India's priorities for the BRICS, especially in terms of bringing to the fore the concerns of the Global South. Intense discussions have been going on the Sherpa and Sous-Sherpa level to build a consensus to pave way for a consensus on the BRICS outcome. And when we actually see that the world shifts focus to this summit, the consensus and the outcome will be able to pave way for a new global cooperation amongst the BRICS nations. With camera person Piyush Verma, this is Meghna Dev for DD India from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
And DD India explored something very interesting in the heart of Brazil. Thousands of miles away from India, young Brazilians are learning ancient Indian mantras, sacred chants, passed down from centuries in devotion to Indian gods and goddesses. Guided by Indian gurus and music instructors at the Swami Vivekananda Center for Indian Culture established by the ICCR, these students are not just singing, they're embracing a tradition of devotion, discipline and divine connection. Listen in.
Youngsters in Brazil are embracing Indian spirituality, Indian music, Indian mantras and more. And we are joined in by such a group which has been learning this at the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center in São Paulo. And we'll talk to them to understand what they're learning. You know, it's been 4-5 years or more than that for a few of you who have been learning these Indian music, mantras and more. What do you have to say about it? What's your inclination?
We are singing mantra about, I think, 3 years and doing this devotional music. And we are very glad to be here to have this opportunity to meet with Narendra Modi and hope our frequencies go to the world with a lot of peace and love. And we are very happy to connect those cultures like India and Brazil. And we have India in our hearts. Everyone. And now it's like see a dream coming true because we sing mantras, it's like an instrument for us, but now we are like living this.
Indian culture has completely transformed my life for the last 10 years and I'm deeply passionate and devotionally touched by this culture. So like he said, we've never been in this life in India yet, but India is inside of us and we are feeling deeply honored by this opportunity by the director, Dr. Jyoti. Really, it's an honor to be here sharing this bhakti, this devotional that pulses through us. So yes, this comes from the straight of our hearts to all of the hearts and it spreads musically, beautifully honoring this sacred ancient culture that is India. And yeah, it's amazing. It's a pleasure to be here. We're very honored. We send blessings to you all. Really love, 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 love.
Like to sing for us the devotional mantras that you have learned over the years, anything that's your favorite and you would like to sing for our audience in India?
Jaya Jagadambe Jai Ma, Jaya Jagadambe Ma Durga, Jaya Jagadambe Jai Ma, Jaya Jagadambe Ma Durga, Jaya Jagadambe Jai Ma, Jaya Jagadambe Ma Durga, Ma Durga, Ma Durga, Ma Durga, Ma Durga. Ma, Jai 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 Ma.
How beautifully these people are learning what Indian culture, Indian music, art forms, devotion and spirituality is. Definitely something that transcends boundaries, and this is what we call living bridges between two countries, India and Brazil. With camera person Piyush Verma, this is Meghna Dey for DD India from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
Also, as the BRICS Summit in Rio approaches, India's role is under the spotlight, from counterterrorism to trade. With India playing a pivotal role in BRICS and bilateral ties with Brazil gaining steady momentum, DD India exclusively speaks to Ambassador Dinesh Bhatia, India's envoy to Brazil, to discuss New Delhi's key priorities, the state of India-Brazil relations, and what's at stake at this year's BRICS Summit. Take a look.
We're joined in by Ambassador Dinesh Bhatia, who is the Ambassador of India to Brazil. Thank you so much, sir, for talking to DD India. Sir, we would want to first ask you about the BRICS Summit. What are India's priorities in this summit, and what can be expected that India is going to push for in this summit?
As far as BRICS Summit is concerned, Prime Minister has participated in all the summits, and our basic agenda since the inception of BRICS has been global governance reform, and we will continue with the same agenda in this summit. Brazil is, of course, the partner in Global South. It's a strategic partner of India, and we have a common agenda of global governance reforms.
India has put its very strong stance on counterterrorism, and after the Pahalgam attack, how do you think India is going to push even stronger this time, or probably make a stronger consensus amidst the member states?
Counterterrorism is one of our core agenda. As far as BRICS is concerned, they will talk about it in some form which I'm not privy to at this point of time. But on bilateral front, I can tell you that between India and Brazil, Brazil has supported us on this issue. And in this visit, we are trying to conclude an MOU on counterterrorism, which will be another step forward between the two strategic partners.
So, obviously, we'll shift focus to the bilateral that is going to happen between India and Brazil. How do you think, where is the trajectory of the relationship between both the leaders, Prime Minister Modi and President Lula, considering this is Prime Minister Modi's fourth visit this time?
Brazil and India have always been close countries. They have been part of Global South. And since 2006, our bilateral relations were elevated to strategic partnership. And of course, there have been several exchange of visits. Prime Minister Modi's first visit out of Indian subcontinent was to Brazil in July of 2014. That shows the closeness of importance and the closeness of relationship between India and Brazil. And the agenda in the meanwhile has amplified so much. It has deepened and broadened between the two countries, from political relationship where we are close partners in various fora. We are talking about trade and investment. The trade between the two countries has gone up to more than $12 billion with the slight trade surplus in favor of India. Then we are also talking about from agricultural research to scientific research to digital partnership, which is a very important agenda currently between India and Brazil.
Thank you so much, Ambassador, for speaking to us. So here, as global attention shifts to Brazil with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the BRICS Summit, as well as for this landmark bilateral that is going to happen between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Lula, we'll bring to you all the important updates, insights and exclusives from Brazil only for DD India.
Heightened security arrangements have been made in Rio ahead of the BRICS Summit. Let's take a look at this report by Meghna in terms of showing how all kinds of 360-degree arrangements have been made as spherically secure Rio this time around for this gathering of the BRICS leaders.
Massive security preparations ahead of the BRICS Summit in Rio de Janeiro. The city has mobilized one of its largest security forces. We can say that one of the largest deployment that can be seen across the city of military and police personnel. Now, this is also to guard the summit venue, the key transit routes, as well as diplomatic delegations. Weeks ago, there had been a coordinated exercise of the forces in Rio de Janeiro to ensure that there is coordinated response and as well as protocols that can be coordinated properly about the security arrangements that have to take place during the summit. Besides that, this is not the first time that the city is seeing such heightened security. It has also happened, such a large-scale exercise has also happened during the G20 summit in Rio de Janeiro. What we also see is that security has been beefed up at important locations across the city, on the streets, at the Ipanema beach. We also see heightened security at the Copacabana beach and other important places. 24/7 surveillance can clearly be seen, as well as there has been such security deployment to ensure that there is quick response to any untoward incident. With camera person Piyush Verma, this is Meghna Dey for DD India from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Iranian Supreme Leader Khamenei attends an event in a first public appearance after the war with Israel. Britain's foreign minister visits Damascus as UK re-establishes diplomatic relations with Syria. And Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky says the latest phone call with Trump has been most productive as Kyiv seeks additional Patriot missiles from the US. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, Israeli negotiators en route to Qatar for talks on a possible Gaza hostage and ceasefire deal on Sunday, although Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said the changes requested by the Hamas to a ceasefire proposal were unacceptable. Hamas's demands include withdrawal of Israeli troops from Gaza. Netanyahu, who is due to meet US President Donald Trump in Washington on Monday, has repeatedly said the Hamas must be disarmed. Hamas, however, has refused to discuss this Israeli demand. This comes after Hamas said that it had responded to a US-backed Gaza ceasefire proposal in a positive spirit, days after Donald Trump said Israel had agreed to the necessary conditions to finalize a 60-day truce. Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, on Saturday made his first public appearance since the start of the 12-day Iran-Israel war. A video broadcast by the state media showed Khamenei attending a ceremony to mark Ashura, the holiest day of the Shiite Muslim calendar. Earlier reports said that the Iranian Supreme Leader had been in a secure location since the start of the war, in which top Iranian commanders and nuclear scientists were eliminated. The UK has announced that it is re-establishing diplomatic relations with Syria after the country's years-long civil war, as Foreign Minister David Lammy visited Damascus pledging $129 million in support. Lammy met Syrian President Ahmad al-Sharaa. Lammy's visit, the first by a British minister in 14 years to Syria, comes days after US President Donald Trump signed an executive order terminating an American sanctions program against Syria, ending its isolation from the international financial system and helping it rebuild after the war.
I'm here really on behalf of the British people who have always stood by the Syrian people with humanitarian aid and support, to speak to this new government, to urge them to continue to be inclusive, to ensure that there's transparency and accountability in the way that they govern, but to stand by the Syrian people and Syria as it makes this peaceful transition over the coming months, and to continue to strengthen bilateral ties between the UK government and the government here in Syria.
Now, amid the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict, Ukraine is seeking additional Patriot air defense systems to bolster its security. The development follows what Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky described as his most productive talks yet with US President Donald Trump. In his address, Zelensky emphasized the critical importance of air defense, saying the Patriot system is precisely the key to protection against ballistic threats. The two leaders also discussed a range of other strategic issues, with further deliberations expected in upcoming high-level meetings.
Regarding the conversation with the President of the United States, which took place the day before, it was probably the best conversation we have had during this whole time, most productive. We discussed air defense issues, and I'm grateful for the willingness to help. The Patriot system is precisely the key to protection against ballistic threats. We also discussed several other important matters, which our teams will be working through in more detail in upcoming meetings.
In a stunning political move, billionaire techie Elon Musk has launched a new party in the US, calling it the America Party, to challenge what he described as the country's one-party system. Announcing it on his platform X, Musk took aim at both Republicans and Democrats, saying America needs fresh leadership. Now, the move comes after Musk openly criticized President Trump's newly signed tax cut and spending bill, warning that soaring deficits could bankrupt the country. Musk has also vowed to fund campaigns to unseat lawmakers who supported the bill. At least 50 people, including 15 children, have died in catastrophic flash floods sweeping through central Texas, and search teams are racing against time to locate dozens more who are still missing. Among those unaccounted for are 27 young girls from Camp Mystic, a summer camp nestled in the state's scenic hill country. The disaster was triggered by torrential rains that dumped up to 15 inches of rain over the Guadalupe River. Authorities say the actual death toll could be higher as floodwaters ravaged multiple countries. Eyewitness Tonya Fucci, who was visiting her grandmother, recounted the destruction that followed deadly floodwaters and said that she is in complete shock seeing such devastation.
Complete shock. I'm still in shock today. The devastation was such that I'm still in shock today. And with the rescues going on and the helicopters, you just know there's so many missing children and missing people.
Now, India's real GDP grew by 6.5% in 2024-25, despite global uncertainties. The country's consumer price index-based inflation hit the lowest since February 2019. Let's get you more in this report.
India continues to strengthen its position as the world's fastest-growing major economy, expanding steadily despite global uncertainties. The Reserve Bank of India projects this robust momentum to continue into 2025-26, underscoring the country's economic resilience and balanced growth across sectors, fueled by solid domestic demand, easing inflation, and rising exports. Real GDP grew by 6.5% in 2024-25, reflecting healthy underlying economic activity after adjusting for inflation. Other projections also remain optimistic, with the United Nations forecasting growth of 6.3% this year and 6.4% next year, while the Confederation of Indian Industry places its estimate between 6.4 and 6.7%. In 2014-15, the GDP at current prices was 106.57 lakh crore rupees. It's expected to rise to over 331.03 lakh crore rupees in 2024-25, nearly tripling in 10 years. Inflation based on the Consumer Price Index stood at 2.82%, the lowest since February 2019. The number of retail investors surged from 4.9 crore in 2019 to 13.2 crore by the end of 2024. Foreign direct investment inflows reached a provisional $81.04 billion in fiscal year 2024-25, marking a 14% rise from the previous year. Foreign exchange reserves hit a record $697.9 billion as of June 20, 2025. The current account balance posted a surplus of $13.5 billion in Q4 of 2024-25 compared to $4.6 billion in the same quarter previous year. Total exports soared to a new high of $824.9 billion in 2024-25, growing 6.01% from $778.1 billion in 2023-24. Key indicators such as record foreign exchange reserves, a manageable current account deficit, and increasing foreign investment reflect growing global trust in India's long-term prospects. Bureau Report, DD India.
And that's all we have for this edition of DD India Live, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. Just scan the QR code on the screen to download the app right away. And we'll be back in just a flash with more news as Munmun joins me for a special broadcast related to the BRICS Summit, which is expected to get underway within minutes from now. Do join us for that special broadcast over the next at least 2.5 hours as well. Thanks for watching.